Welcome back, Math 1. Today we're just going to get a little bit more practice with factoring and using the AC method, and we're really going to focus on solving completely today. Okay. All right. Remember, that means you solve it all the way down until you actually find out what x is supposed to equal, and that gives you the x-intercepts, tells you where the graph crosses the x-axis. Okay. So let's just do a quick refresher. Let's say we had x squared minus 7x plus 12. And then maybe we'll do x squared minus 4x. Oh, geez. Minus 32. Okay. All right. So remember, our first step on these ones is a little simpler. I just start with x immediately. And then off to the side, I want to find factors of 12 that will give me negative 7. Okay, now because 12 is positive, but the 7 is negative, I need two negative numbers. So my factors are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So if they're all negative, I'm really just asking which ones add to make 7. And that would be this pair down here. And then remember, to solve completely, I would set both of those parentheses equal to 0. And then I would solve for x by adding 3 and adding 4. Now we get that x equals 3 and x equals 4. And I can do that again over here. I'm going to start with x in each one. I need factors of negative 32. That will give me negative 4. Now, because the 32 is positive, you need a positive and a negative 32. So let's see, there's 1 and 16. There's 1 and 32. 2 and 16. 3 does not go into it. 4 and 8. 5 doesn't go into it, 6 and 7 don't go into it, and then we're back to 8. So I guess these are its factors. So now you're looking at which one, if I subtracted, would give me 4. So that would be 4 and 8, and then I just want to make sure I get the right one being negative, and that would be my 8. So I'll have a plus 4 and a minus 8, and if I set both of these equal to 0 and solve, I'm going to get negative 4 and positive 8. Okay, so that was just a quick refresher. We're going to do two examples with our AC method here with our box. And then what we have not yet done with these is solve them completely. So I want to make sure we get some practice doing that. So we're going to have 2x squared minus 9x plus 10. And then we're going to have 6x squared minus 23x minus 4. I'm going to go ahead and get my box ready on both of them. Remember, if you really just don't like the box, I can show you another way to do it. This is just the cleanest version. Okay, I'm going to start with my first example. Remember, I'm taking 2 times 10, which gives me 20. And I want factors of 20 that are going to give me negative 9. So I need two negative numbers. So there's 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. And if they're both negative, I want to use 4 and 5. Okay. I'm going to fill in my box with my 2x squared here and my 10 here from the first and last pieces. And then I'll have negative 4x and negative 5x. Okay. Now I'm looking at each row and each column, what can I pull out? So if I start with 2x squared and negative 5x, they have no numbers in common, but they both have an x. If I move over to negative 4x and 10, I have 2 in common, and because I have a negative 4 there, I'm going to make it a negative 2. Okay. Going to our rows, 2x squared and negative 4x, I can pull a 2x out of that. Another way you could think about it is if I have x on the top, what do I have to multiply it by to get 2x squared inside the box? And then in my bottom row, because I already had a negative in my right column, I want to make sure I have another negative here so that I can get a negative 5, but a positive 10. And 5 is the biggest number that goes into both of them. Okay, now what you're used to is then you're like, okay, great. So it's x minus 2 and 2x minus 5. But remember, we still need to actually solve this completely. So what we're going to do now is both of those equations, or both of those little parentheses, we're going to set equal to 0 and solve. Now this first one's pretty simple. I just add 2, and I get that x equals 2. But this second one, I'm going to get a fraction, and that's okay. And that's why it's so much harder to solve than the ones above. So if I get that 2x equals 5, and I divide by 2, I get that x equals 2 and x equals 5 halves. You can just leave it as a fraction. You don't have to tell me what decimal that is or mixed fraction. Okay. Let's try one more where we're solving. And that will be the expectation on your homework today too, that you solve completely. I'm going to go ahead and put those first terms in here. 6x squared and negative 4. If I take 6 times negative 4, I get negative 24, which means I have one positive and one negative number. Oops. That was supposed to be a negative symbol. Jeez. So there's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. And the combination, if one of them is negative, so it's more about which one's going to subtract to give me 23, would be 1 and 24. And since it's a negative 23, I want the 24 to be negative. So I'm going to have negative 24x and 1x. All right, let's start with my first column, 6x squared and negative 24x. I can pull a 6 out of both of those, and they both have an x, so I can use that. Going to my next column, 1 and 4, the only common factors they have would be 1, and they don't both have x, so I can't pull that out, so it's just going to be 1. Going to my top row, 6x squared and 1x, they both have x. And I could write 1 if I wanted to, but that's not necessary. And then on the bottom row here, I have both negative numbers, and 4 is the biggest number that goes into both of them. So my factors are 6x plus 1 and x minus 4. I'm going to set both of those equal to 0. And solve. This one on the right is going to be easiest. I'll add 4 over, and I get that x equals 4. This one on the left, I'm going to subtract 1. And then I'm going to divide by 6. And again, I will just keep that fraction, so I'll get that x equals negative 1/6.